Hi, and welcome to this week's lesson in our 12-month journey of recovery from processed food cravings. If you've ever felt hijacked by cravings, or like something inside you just takes over the moment you try to eat differently, you're not alone and you're not failing. This week, we're going to talk about three powerful forces in recovery. The first one is withdrawal. The second one is cravings. And then we're going to talk about how meal structure becomes one of our best protective tools. We'll also explore what's happening inside using internal family systems, or IFS, to help us understand the parts of us that panic, soothe, and protect the moment we try to change our food. So, what is withdrawal? Let's begin by understanding what's actually happening in the brain when we start removing processed foods. Our bodies are wired to seek reward. And at the center of that reward seeking system is a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine helps regulate motivation, pleasure, and learning, and it's what drives us to pursue things that feel good and to repeat behaviors that bring relief. When you eat something highly processed, especially foods high in sugar and flour and salt and fat, your brain gets an unnaturally large surge of dopamine. This doesn't just make the food feel pleasurable, it actually trains the brain to associate that food with comfort, safety, and survival. And over time, the brain starts to downregulate its dopamine receptors. That means it becomes less sensitive to normal pleasure signals. And the result? You need more of the substance, more processed foods to feel the same level of reward. And when those foods are suddenly removed, the brain feels deprived. That's where withdrawal comes in. Withdrawal symptoms can include irritability, fatigue, or lack of motivation, headaches, foggy thinking, heightened emotional sensitivity, and sleep disturbances, amongst others. These symptoms are not a sign that you're failing or that something's wrong. They're a sign that your brain is rebalancing. According to Schulte et al., many people who reduce or eliminate ultra-processed foods experience symptoms that closely mirror early-stage drug withdrawal. These symptoms are often most intense in the first 3 to 5 days, but can resurface in waves, especially during stress. Understanding withdrawal for what it is, a neurological recalibration, helps us meet it with compassion and curiosity instead of shame. Cravings are often misunderstood. They're not about hunger. They're about relief seeking. When your brain gets used to using food as a way to escape discomfort, it builds a strong neural link between certain emotions like stress or boredom or sadness and the expectation of relief through eating. That link is visible in the brain. In fMRI studies, which stands for functional magnetic resonance imaging, a type of brain scan that shows which areas of the brain are active, scientists have found that the sight, smell, even the thought of processed food can light up the brain's reward center in people with compulsive eating patterns. And interestingly, this activity often appears before a person is consciously aware of wanting food. In other words, cravings start before you know they're starting. Cravings can feel overwhelming because they activate the limbic system, particularly the amygdala, which is involved in emotional memory and threat detection. That's why cravings can feel like survival instincts. Your brain isn't asking for food, it's asking for safety. But there's hope. The brain is plastic, which means that it can change. With repeated structure, support, and self-leadership, those neural pathways can weaken. Cravings can soften, and over time, your parts begin to learn that relief doesn't have to come from food. You'll still have moments of urgency, but they become fewer, shorter, and more manageable, especially when you have a stable rhythm around food and an internal self who can lead with curiosity and care. One of the most powerful tools in reducing both cravings and withdrawal symptoms is having a predictable rhythm around food. But let's be clear, we're not prescribing 3 meals a day, 4 to 6 hours apart, or any rigid thing. Here we emphasize discovery, not rules. We teach a rhythm building method called TOTTERS, which stands for try, observe, talk about, tweak, and enjoy repeating slowly. This means try something simple that fits your current life. Observe how it feels in your body and mind, how it works for you. Talk about it in community or with your parts. Tweak what you're doing based on what works for you or doesn't work for you. And then slowly build the confidence to repeat rhythms that support your recovery. So why does rhythm matter? Because unpredictable eating, like skipping meals and eating on the go or grabbing things at random, that creates uncertainty in the nervous system. That uncertainty feels like danger. The body doesn't know when relief is coming, and that's when cravings spike. Research has shown that erratic eating schedules are linked to higher cortisol levels, more impulsive decision-making, and greater risk of binge eating. When meals are more predictable, the body doesn't have to brace for the next hit of food. It can relax. Even anchoring one meal each day, just one, can begin to regulate your stress response, lower food obsession, and help your brain return to baseline. This week, we go deeper into parts work. In IFS, when we experience cravings, it's usually not you making that decision. It's a part inside of you. Let's meet a few of the most common ones. Firefighters. These parts are urgent and intense. Their job is to stop pain, discomfort, or overwhelm now. They often step in when another part has been ignored or when emotions become too much to bear. They might say, "We need this or we won't survive. Just eat it, fix it now. I don't care what happens after. We're not doing this sober." Firefighters act fast. They're not concerned with long-term healing. They just want the system to calm down immediately. And then there are managers. After the firefighter has acted, the manager shows up. These parts try to control or prevent chaos. They might criticize, restrict, or shame. Their goal is to never feel that out of control again. They might say, "Why did you mess up again? You should have been stronger. Now we'll have to fix everything." Managers often carry anxiety. They want to protect your image, your plan, your reputation, but they don't always lead with kindness. Beneath it all, there is usually an exile, a younger, more vulnerable part of you that holds the original pain. This could be loneliness, shame, rejection, grief, any number of those emotions. This part often doesn't have a voice until a craving brings it to the surface. It's the part saying, no one sees me. I just want comfort. I don't know how to feel safe without food. IFS helps us slow down and ask, who inside is feeling urgent right now? What are they afraid will happen if I don't eat this? Can I sit with this part for one moment without trying to fix or suppress it? Cravings often quiet, not because we fight them off, but because the part finally felt heard. That's the work this week, not suppression, but compassion. In internal family systems, cravings are rarely just about the food. They're about the parts that show up in the face of discomfort. A firefighter who says, we need this now or I'll fall apart. A manager who says, you were doing so well, don't mess this up. Or an exile holding grief, fear, or abandonment, longing for relief. These parts aren't wrong. They're trying to help. But they don't always know how to soothe us in ways that lead to healing. This week, we begin practicing how to pause and listen instead of reacting and feeding the craving loop. You might ask, who inside of me is feeling this urgency? What do they believe this food will fix? Can I sit with them for 1 minute just to hear them out? When we build meal structure and regulate our rhythms, we reduce the panic these parts are responding to. We give them the safety they're longing for. This week, our practice is to identify and name withdrawal symptoms as they arise, to track your cravings, noticing when and where, and the emotional tone that you're experiencing. Create a simple meal structure using the Totters method, which again stands for try, observe, talk, tweak, and enjoy repeating slowly. Invite your parts into the dialogue, especially those who crave, panic, or push against structure. You don't need to make everything perfect. You just need to show your system that it's safe to try. Cravings are not the enemy. They are signals. Withdrawal is not a failure. It's a sign of healing. And structure is not punishment. It's a form of internal trust. This week, we honor the body's recalibration, the brain's memory, and the parts that are doing their best to help us survive. We lead not with rules, but with rhythm. Not with restriction, but with respect. You're already doing the work. One conversation, one pause, one meal at a time. I'll see you on the next call.